Weekend on 947 Dancing in the Flames. You can weigh in on this conversation, kids and parents alike, teachers as well. Please get in here. What is your take on St. Mary's DSG in Waverley deciding that from 7:15 in the morning until 2:15 in the afternoon, the school is a no cell phone zone? You put them away. We don't want to see them. But like we spoke to the headmaster now, Seipati Shakala says that, you know, there are moments where they're like, guys, bring your phones because there's something special happening. You guys want to document it for yourselves. But otherwise, on a normal academic day, no cell phones.
And that includes smart watches, eh? They also say, put your watches away. No connected devices.
So we're speaking to Dr. Mark Williams, who is Australian. He is he's got a book called My Connected Species, right? Dr. Mark Williams, welcome to Anele in the club. Is it morning in Australia? What's happening there? Afternoon? What time are we looking at there?
We're looking at just after 4 p.m, so late afternoon, almost dinner time.
Almost, okay. I like that.
Now I'm hungry.
Me too. Thinking of a lamb shank right now. So, Dr. Mark, I mean, the entire country, Australia, has now taken on what we are slowly getting into one by one. What was after this research of 10 years, what was the reason around you and your organization saying, you know what, this is actually causing more harm than good. We have to do something.
Yeah, there's been a huge amount of research showing that not only is it affecting learning in the classroom, but it's also affecting mental health issues in the classroom. And we've seen this huge increase in mental health problems in schools and, you know, among the youth all across the world. And so that's really what the original impetus was. And we saw some schools, as what's happening in South Africa, some schools moved towards phone-free and saw the real benefits from that. And so therefore, you know, we went, well, you know, it's about time it was done across the whole country. And it took a long time, but now it's been implemented and the positive outcomes have been amazing.
I'm looking at some of your research and you say that cell phones basically play the same role as what casinos play to adults. Can you run me through that, like comparison, you know, stat for stat?
Yeah, so we know that all of the social media companies are using what we call intermittent reinforcement schedules. These are basically where you hold off on giving a like until the person really wants the like, and then you get the like, and that increases the amount of dopamine that's released in the brain, which increases the likelihood of you getting addicted to whatever it happens to be. Now, that's the intermittent reinforcement schedules are used by gambling companies, they're used by gaming companies, and they're used by social media companies to increase the likelihood that we'll get addicted to these things. And Facebook and all of those companies have all admitted that they're actually doing that. So they hold off on your likes until it's optimal for you to get the optimal amount of dopamine, and then they give you the like so that you are more likely to get addicted.
That's interesting. Eh?
It's fascinating, right? And also, I think, Dr. Mark, what a lot of people or parents are worried about is that if we don't teach our children how to use modern technology in the classroom, they're going to fall behind in the big bad world, but it's actually having the complete adverse effect.
Yeah, absolutely. It's having the complete opposite effect. And we know that the Silicon Valley, the schools in Silicon Valley, where most of the tech entrepreneurs send their kids have no technology in those schools, because they know that the thing that we need is really good attentional mechanisms, and we need the ability to actually concentrate. And you don't get those. You can't build those up when you've got technology in the room that's actually distracting you constantly. So they have, tech-free classrooms where they can actually concentrate.
So I'm glad you touched on the distraction part, because when I sat in that webinar, I found something very interesting, and maybe you can repeat it for the listeners, where you spoke about what happens when somebody, children and adults alike, get a notification. What happens the 90 seconds before that notification comes in and the 90 seconds afterwards?
You really were listening to my lecture, weren't you?
I was. I took
Dr.
notes,
Mark,
and I bought the book.
If you have a T-shirt with your face on it, please send it to South Africa. Cindy will sleep in it, okay? She is totally your fan.
So we know that our attentional mechanism is what actually drives our consciousness, so what we're aware of at any moment in time. And hopefully you're all using your attentional mechanisms to listen to me rather than get distracted by the things that are around you at the moment. And so you're hearing what I'm actually saying, but that's really limited. And when we get distracted, we actually wipe that, what we call working memory, and we wipe it and we put something new into it. So a great example, which most people can relate to, is if you're reading a book and then someone comes in and distracts you, when you go back to the book, you've got to go back a line or two to remember what you're actually reading, because it was all wiped. And it's about 90 seconds. So we lose about 90 seconds every time we get distracted by a beep or a buzz or anything like that on our phone or on our devices. And so we're losing a huge amount of time every day. I present in a lot of schools, and most of the kids, when they actually do the calculations as to how many beeps and buzzes they've got that day, are losing several hours each day because of the distraction and the amount of time that's been wiped from their working memory.
Dr. Mark, so what happens in the instance where schools are totally digital zones, like everything is happening on computers, on iPads, on screens? Do you then not have Wi-Fi where there could be, notifications coming in, a possibility for them to go on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok? Because come on, guys.
Do you just ban those?
It is
those
2025
apps? Yeah.
and things have to kind of move on. We can't be using pen and paper forever.
Well, actually, we should be using pen and paper forever, because we know that you actually learn better when you're using pen and paper. There's a lot of countries, and a lot of countries are now going back to pen and paper. They've moved towards technology and seen that their outcomes have dropped. The issues with behavior in classrooms has increased. They've lost teachers. And so now they're turning around spending, there's several countries are now spending millions of dollars to put textbooks back into classrooms and to get rid of the devices from the classrooms, because we know you actually learn better on paper. You remember stuff better when you read from paper. And technology is actually, the cloud is causing huge problems for our environment. So we're actually better to move back to paper, where we're not going to be destroying the environment, and we're actually going to be allowing kids to concentrate and to learn.
Dr. Mark, could you mention a few of the extreme behavioral issues you've seen, or the research has shown when it comes to social media, phone use in teenagers?
I mean, the worst, of course, is suicide. We see a lot of suicide as a result of social media use, which is why we're now here in Australia, we're banning social media for under 16-year-olds, sorry. And so it's going to be banned from all under 16-year-olds, because of the number of suicides that have occurred because of bullying and because of sextortion and all of these other things that happen online. I think what parents need to realize is that online world is much more dangerous than the real world. And so we need getting kids off these devices and back into the real world, where they can learn things that we actually need to learn, such as being able to actually interact with each other. We know loneliness is now an epidemic across the world, and most of that is because of the devices, that we're using these devices all the time instead of actually creating real relationships with real people in real time. And that's what we actually need to be doing. That's what the kids need to be doing.
Excellent. Oh, my word. Dr. Mark, Cindy was correct. We could listen to you forever.
Yeah, we could.
We really could, but we have to go do things. I'm looking here. I missed out that you are an award-winning neuroscientist. Not too shabby, hey, Nige? My word.
Like he's not making
this up.
Nah.
He's actually studied for it. Where can people go to hear more from you? Because I can imagine lots of parents listening right now.
Yeah.
They want to watch the webinar that Cindy watched. They want to follow you. They want to go to your website. They want to read your book. Where can we get all of that?
Yeah, just www.drmarkwilliams.com. Everything's on there, and there's links to everything on there. So probably the best place to start to begin with. And you can sign up for my newsletter, and you'll get details, more details every month from me about that too.
Okay.
Thank you so much. We want to fly you over here. What's your fee?
Which city are
I'd
you
love
in?
to come over.
What's your fee?
I'm a surfer, so I would love to.
Oh, you see.
We take him to Jeffrey's Bay.
Done.
Damn.
Yes, please go, babe. I'd love to go to Joburg.
Thank you. Dr. Mark Williams, the first time we speak to you certainly won't be the last, because, raising kids is an everyday event. It doesn't stop. And I think that you really are someone that we can weigh in on every now and then when we are discussing such topics.
Amazing.
Thank you so much.
I'd love to come back. Thank you for having me.
Cheerio. Bye.
947. Just last month it was December, the season to be merry, or December.